Hi, friends. Beautiful souls. How's everyone doing today? Finally got good weather again today. Next couple of days was kind of crappy. Yesterday wasn't really a good idea to come out here because, the ground would be too muddy and mushy and stuff. And the day before, probably the same thing. But now that it kind of opened up again and it's nice and sunny, I decided to come out here to do some more of my stuff. So, you don't need to prove anything to anyone. Let me elaborate on that. We've all been fed this false idea, ideology, right? We've been we've been taught, we've been indoctrinated, raised, conditioned to believe, to have this false sense of seeking external validation from other people all throughout our lives. This is what most people do without ever realizing that the only validation that you need is to know that you are already enough. That there is no need to look for anything outside of yourself because you already have everything that you need. You already have all the answers you seek. And you are already whole. But until we acknowledge that fact, we will continue to live our lives in this mundane way of thinking and being that we feel this need somehow. And yeah, it's not somehow. It's because we've been told to be that way. It's a tricky situation. We've been told to be that way. But it's all fake. It's all false. You already are all that you need. And that's it. You have to understand that. For over 2 decades of my life, I was living my life doing all of these things. So I'm speaking from experience here, okay? Keep that in mind. I'm not regurgitating things. I'm speaking from experience. Always thinking that I had to prove myself. Always thinking that, oh, maybe if I try a little bit harder, they will see. Without ever realizing that you have to draw the line at some point. You have to understand that enough is enough. And it's kind of unfortunate that sometimes for some of us might take a lot longer than others to realize these things. But again, like I said in previous videos, it's all about how you see yourself in the eyes of others because of your, you know, child trauma and the preconditioning that happened combined with that. So there's a lot of factors at play here, and that's why it can be tricky and a lot harder for others to finally see things as they truly are than, for instance, to some people who may not have had certain types of trauma that perhaps were generational and inherited, and then you were the one that had to figure that out to finally put a stop to it. But you have to understand that when a good person stops proving their worth for those who couldn't see it, they don't just heal, they grow, they evolve. Don't mind me, I'm reading my notes here, okay? And that growth, that evolution, it's irreversible. Once that happens, there is no going back. When we outgrow ourselves, the old version of us, you're not that person anymore. I mean, you can look back and see how you used to be, but that person is gone. It's like a snake when it sheds its skin. That old skin is gone. You can't, the snake can't put the skin back on itself. It's gone. It'll dry and it'll just decay. And this is how it happens when we heal aspects of ourselves and we move on with our lives. At some point, we gotta stop making excuses for other people's emotional, immaturity. And we have to stop rationalizing this self-destructive behavior that we put it on ourselves because of all this conditioning. By stop rationalizing this self-destructive behavior that we develop because of our upbringing, this needs to be done in order to eliminate that self-sabotage that we are always doing it to ourselves pretty much all the time. We do it all the time. Like I said before, we have this tendency to put the blame on everything outside of ourselves at first. And then later on, we'll blame ourselves for it. Rightfully so, because in a way you are correct. It was your fault. You did it to yourself. We do these things to ourselves without even realizing it, noticing it. And until you acquire the wisdom, the knowledge, the clarity to see that everything was of your own making, that growth, that evolution, it won't happen. There is no gain without pain. Let that sink in. There is no gain without pain. It's part of the process. The pain is like a catalyst. It gives you the real perspective, the vision, the clarity to understand why things happened the way they did and why you did it to yourself. And now you finally realize, damn it, I did it to myself. How foolish was I? But yeah, trust me, guys, I've done it. I know. I spent decades doing things like this to myself to finally see and understand. And it wasn't comfortable at all. There were many tears in the process, more than I care to admit. But that's where I found my strength. That's where I found my inner fire, my purpose. When I finally understood, I've been doing it to myself the whole time. And that's what we all tended to do, to some degree or another. Because we were conditioned to be that way. Like I said before in other content, we, at to some degree, it's not at all our fault. Yes, to a huge extent, obviously, because we do it to ourselves without realizing that we were made to think, act, and be a certain way. Nobody ever tells us when we're little kids that you are perfect the way you are. You already have everything that you need. Everything is inside of you. You have all the answers. Nobody tells us any of these things, right? They're always telling us the contrary. You're not enough. That's not good enough. Do better. You didn't make enough of an effort. So we are traumatized from childhood, psychologically speaking. We are subjected to all kinds of psychological warfare, I would call it. And this is how they get us. This is how we fail to see our own strength, our own power, the things that we can do, the things that we can achieve, when we finally realize that you don't have to prove anything to anyone. And once you do that, the right people, right connections, right environments, scenarios, circumstances, opportunity will finally present themselves to your life. Because now you finally get it. Now you're aligned with your inner child. You've rescued yourself from all that BS that you were fed day in and day out throughout your whole life, all the way up until your adulthood. And then once you become an adult, they don't stop there. It's everywhere. Subliminal messages in the music that we consume, the media, the movies, you name it, books, stories, it's everywhere for those who have eyes to see and ears to hear. It's everywhere, my friends, everywhere. Look, empathy is important, but unchecked empathy ends up turning out to be self-sabotage. That's how it works. There's nothing wrong with, having empathy for other people. But don't let that empathy be unchecked, because that's how you're going to self-sabotage. That's how you're creating all these issues in your life. You're making it happen all by yourself. You're not broken because someone couldn't see your worth. Okay? Remember that. think that was it. Let me know if you like when I do these notes and I read stuff. Uh, because if that's something you enjoy, I'll be doing more of that. But, give me some feedback, guys. Seriously, I mean it. I really enjoy every single one of you, the people who come here and listen to me and support what I do. And remember, I usually don't ask this. I should be doing it more. Maybe I should be doing it all the time. If you like what you see, what you hear, if it makes a difference at all in your life, hit the like button, subscribe, share. It'll help give more exposure and access to those who are in the right frequency to receive these messages and the stuff that I do, you know. And I'm gonna end this one here. I love you all. Never stop loving yourself. And I'll catch you all on the next one. Take care, my friends.